when Rachel Monroe handed me a notice for a $5,000 fine for unauthorized land use. I knew my quiet life in Willow Creek Estates was about to get loud. The HOA had overstepped before, but this time they didn't realize. They were messing with someone who knew how to fight back. It all began 2 years ago when I moved to Willow Creek Estates, a picturesque neighborhood in upstate New York. After years of working in finance in Manhattan, I craved a simpler life. My name is Ethan Rivers, and I'm a 37-year-old financial analyst who shifted to remote work during the pandemic. The job paid well, and the flexibility allowed me to settle into a quiet community, surrounded by dense woodlands, a perfect place to reconnect with nature. Willow Creek Estates looked ideal on paper: large lots, well-maintained homes, and serene walking trails winding through the adjacent forest. The HOA fees, $500 quarterly, were steep but seemed worth it for the peaceful ambiance. But what the realtor didn't tell me was that the HOA was essentially Rachel Monroe's personal kingdom. Rachel, the 41-year-old president of the HOA, had a reputation for micromanaging everything, from the color of your mailbox to the type of shrubs you could plant. A lawyer by profession, Rachel wielded HOA bylaws like a weapon, and most residents were too intimidated to push back. I kept a low profile for the first few months, attending to my home and paying dues on time. But things took a turn when I decided to revisit an old hobby: wildlife photography. Growing up in rural Pennsylvania, my father and I used to hike through the woods, capturing stunning shots of deer, foxes, and other wildlife. Moving to Willow Creek reignited that passion. One crisp autumn morning, I ventured into the woods adjacent to the neighborhood, camera in hand. I noticed some well-trodden trails and assumed they were part of the public paths maintained by the HOA. After spotting a majestic buck near a clearing, I crouched to get the perfect shot when I heard voices. Rachel emerged with a group of joggers. She froze when she saw me. "Ethan," she said, her tone icy, "these trails are for community use only. You can't just roam freely." Confused, I explained that I was just taking photos. "And anyway," I added, "these trails aren't marked as HOA property." Rachel's smile didn't reach her eyes. "We maintain these paths for the neighborhood. Any unsanctioned use is a violation of HOA guidelines." I brushed it off, thinking it was just Rachel being Rachel. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. A week later, I found an envelope taped to my door. It was a notice from the HOA, citing me for trespassing and causing a community disturbance. Attached was a $5,000 fine, payable within 30 days. My first reaction was disbelief. I knew enough about property laws to suspect the fine was baseless. But I wanted to be sure. I contacted a local lawyer, Anna Fields, who confirmed my hunch. The HOA didn't have jurisdiction over the woods. They weren't part of the neighborhood's official boundaries. "Interesting," Anna said, skimming the HOA's bylaws. "If those trails aren't on HOA land, they can't enforce this fine. Let's look into who owns that property." The next day, I visited the county records office. To my surprise, the land belonged to a retired farmer named Gerald Watkins, who now lived in Florida. I reached out to him, explaining my interest in photography and my encounter with the HOA. Gerald chuckled. "Son, I've owned that land for 40 years. Haven't set foot there in over a decade. If you want to use it, go ahead. Just don't litter or scare off the wildlife." With Gerald's permission secured, I thought the issue was settled. But Rachel had other plans. At the next HOA meeting, Rachel announced plans for a Willow Creek Nature Reserve, complete with new signage, benches, and landscaping. She presented it as a community enhancement, conveniently omitting the fact that the land wasn't owned by the HOA. When I raised my hand to question her, Rachel brushed me off. "The community has been using those trails for years. It's practically ours," she said, her tone dismissive. Her confidence was misplaced. With Anna's help, I discovered the HOA had been applying for permits to develop Gerald's land without his consent. This wasn't just overreach, it was illegal. I called Gerald again and floated an idea. "Have you ever considered selling the property?" Gerald hesitated. "I've thought about it. The taxes are a burden, and I'm not getting any younger." After some negotiation, I bought the land for $450,000, a significant investment, but one I was willing to make to protect my peace of mind. The day after the sale closed, Rachel came to my door, flanked by 2 other board members. She handed me another fine notice and threatened legal action if I didn't comply. Smiling, I pulled out the freshly signed deed. "Rachel, as of yesterday, I own the land you've been trying to claim. I suggest the HOA rethink its plans for the nature reserve." The color drained from her face. "You can't do this," she stammered. "Oh, I can. And I have. Now, I expect the HOA to remove its unauthorized trails and installations from my property. Otherwise, we'll be discussing trespassing charges. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some residents were angry, accusing Rachel of overstepping her authority. Others quietly thanked me for standing up to her. Rachel resigned as HOA president a month later, citing personal reasons. The HOA board dropped all fines against me, and the unauthorized trails were dismantled. As for the land, I've kept it as a private retreat, open only to respectful neighbors who ask for permission. It's become my sanctuary, a reminder that sometimes standing your ground can turn the tide.